Hi, I'm Dick Brennan, and welcome to Exit 1055. As state lawmakers scramble to put together a new budget by the April 1st deadline, Long Island educators say that once again, schools and students are being shortchanged. Now, joining us now is David Feller. He's the president of the Nassau County Council of School Superintendents, and he's also the superintendent of schools in North Merrick. Welcome to the show, Mr. Feller. Have to ask you, they're still scrambling in Albany. The budget is coming together. We don't know the precise numbers. But why do you feel Nassau County will be shortchanged?
Well, unfortunately, Nassau County historically has been shortchanged. We have about 17% of the students, and historically we've received only 12% back in state aid. Plus, I believe that Nassau County has been unfairly painted as a very high wealth area, which really isn't true when you take into account cost of living factors, regional costs. And there are many, many students on Long Island who are living in school districts that are actually below the state average in poverty. And in terms of Commonwealth ratio, about 44% of the students on Long Island are actually in school districts where the average wealth ratio is below 1, which is considered the state average. So this has been a concern.
But you realize that state lawmakers, other parts of the state in Buffalo say, hey, you know, this still is Nassau County. You have a lot of wealth in Nassau County, albeit there are some parts that perhaps are poor.
Well, Long Island is one part of the state, and clearly there are only 9 state senators on Long Island who are combating other regions in the area. It's all a competition. And what may have been true perhaps 20 or 30 years ago is less true now. For instance, over the last 11 years, Long Island used to be about 30% above state average in income. Right now it's about 11% over the average. So there's been a decline over time. Plus, the Long Island economy, in comparison to the rest of the state, actually hasn't been doing as well.
All right, are you worried about, what are you worried about here? Layoffs, possibly? Teacher layoffs?
Well, first of all, I just want to say that as a Long Island superintendent, I'm extremely proud of the high-quality education that we've provided on Long Island. If Long Island were a separate state, we actually would be ranked first in the percentage of students who graduate high school. We have the highest percentage of high schools that are in the Newsweek top 1,000 schools. So the quality of education here has been just amazing. But in terms of my concerns with the way state aid has been structured and the way that state aid has been eliminated over time, or at least reduced, it looks as if many districts have been forced to reduce forces, reduce programs, and my concern is that may continue unless the situation is rectified.
All right, I got to ask you about Common Core because there's so much controversy about that. Parents are saying this week, hey, I want to opt out. Are there any repercussions for parents who want to opt out of these standardized tests?
Well, I guess a lot depends upon what grade level you're talking about. Clearly, students cannot opt out of high school Regents examinations. These have a bearing on whether or not students will graduate, and you don't see an opt-out movement at that level. Where you see a greater percent of opt-outs would be in grades 3 through 8. And I think it's unfortunate that parents feel a need to opt out, but many feel frustrated that they haven't been listened to. The way the state rolled out the Common Core implementation and the way the testing was rolled out immediately without students and teachers having sufficient time to get used to it.
But can they opt out, quote unquote, legally? Are they violating a policy? What would happen? What are the repercussions?
Well, legally, there's no such thing as an opt-out.
Right.
What parents have been looking at is that in the test manual, there is an indicator if a child refuses to take a test. And parents have been taking that and writing to schools saying that my child will refuse to take the test based upon this provision. Has there been any repercussion to schools? Currently, no, but there is a chance that federal funding can be impacted, Title I funding. I'll give you my school district, for instance, as an example. We just received notification that we're receiving $150,000 in what's called a reward grant over a 2-year period, and it was solely based upon our student results on state testing. Had we not had a sufficient participation rate in those 2 years, our school district wouldn't have been able to qualify for that grant. So it could have a repercussion.
It could. Mr. Feller, thank you for coming in. To be continued, that's the best way we can put this. David Feller, the head of the Nassau County Council of School Superintendents, thanks for stopping in. In other education news, keeping our kids safe at school, it's a challenge for administrators everywhere, and it has some using new cutting-edge technology. So why don't schools here have it?
They are a troubling sign of the times. School shootings from Columbine a decade and a half ago to Sandy Hook in 2012, and at least another 44 since then. Schools have responded with additional metal detectors, surveillance cameras, evacuation drills.
Officers responding to CopSync alert.
Now there's something new. It's called CopSync 911, designed to get help to schools faster and more efficiently in a crisis.
Here's all our units that are around.
In a school emergency, one click on this icon automatically alerts the 5 closest police officers on patrol, no matter what their jurisdiction. It's all about geography.
You may have a state police officer or a sheriff's deputy driving through that town, and he will be one of the 5 to receive that alert.
In addition, the alert goes to the entire local police department and to 911 dispatch. The idea is to shave minutes off response time, getting police and EMTs to the scene quicker. Another key feature? Using cell phones. Teachers who may even be in imminent danger can directly communicate with first responders.
The idea that I can instantly communicate with officers that are nearby gives me that peace of mind that I thought I had lost forever.
The system also transmits vital information, like school blueprints, to help direct officers once on scene.
The last thing that anybody would want is for an officer to walk into a building or school that's under threat blindfolded.
CopSync 911 is in about 70 school districts around the country. At this school in Texas, students and parents say they feel safer.
I'd like to know that the police know what's going on in our school.
I think if everybody's on the same page, it cuts down time.
No schools in our area have signed on, but New York City Schools Chancellor Carmen Farina hasn't ruled it out.
We're up to reviewing anything that works, keeping in mind that, funds are funds, and you put in one thing, you take it away from something else.
Criminologist Eugene O'Donnell says it could very well be worth the investment.
Well, anything that equips police with the ability to go quickly and have reliable, quick information can literally make them not only diagnose situations better, but actually allow them to save lives.
Now, the CopSync company refused to release pricing information, but districts we spoke with said it costs $2,400 to install the system and would cost $1,200 a year to maintain it. Well, coming up next, a father blames a college fraternity for his son's suicide.
We as parents had no idea that when we sent Marquise away to school, that he'd come back to us and he'd be in a box.
He's speaking out, and we have new information about possible charges.
Imagine no possessions. I wonder if you can. No need for greed or hunger. A brotherhood of man. Imagine all the people sharing all the world.
Imagine what these 2 quarters could do. Imagine if you could use them to deliver life-saving medicine and nutrition directly to a child who would die without it. Go online or call this number and join UNICEF with your $15 monthly gift. It's only 50 cents a day, and it means you'll get these children the critical help they need to survive. Emergency care, nutrition, vaccines, anti-malaria bed nets, delivered every single day of the year to the children who could die without it. That's what your 50 cents a day buys. This really is the opportunity you've been waiting for. It's simple, affordable, and it's your chance to save children's lives every single day of the year. But you have to sign up to make it happen. Please go online or pick up the phone now.
Your news, first and fast. The right news at the right time. WLNY News at 9, with Dick Brennan and Alice Gaynor. Developing stories, breaking news, live reports from all over the tri-state at 9. Lonnie Quinn's forecast and sports scores with Otis Livingston at 9. Get it here and find out first. WLNY News at 9. The right time to get your news.
A father makes an emotional plea to the fraternity members he says drove his son to suicide and then kept a deadly secret. The college freshman from Long Island jumped off a roof of a hotel, and prosecutors are now considering criminal charges. TV 1055's Jennifer McLogan has more.
As the Bram family prepares to bury their son, an investigation is now being launched in 2 states into whether allegations of college fraternity hazing is connected to the suicide of 18-year-old Marquise Bram.
What caused him to jump off that roof was the fraternity and the hazing activities and rituals within that fraternity. Excessive drinking, the drug use, the again, physical violence to one another. Those were things that were not Marquise. This kid had been in Christian education all of his life.
Bram was known for his intelligence, compassion, and life of service, according to former Kellenberg classmates and teachers we spoke with, who remained stunned that while home during college spring break, Bram wrote a suicide note and leapt off the roof of the Uniondale Marriott.
He was an officer of this fraternity. He then had to mete out the punishment and the hazings to these kids. He couldn't do it. There's evidence of that.
Police in Pennsylvania have collected pledge cell phone photos, this one allegedly a gag, others that may show vomiting, urination, and sexually abusive games.
He left a note behind. They have been found texts or messages on his phone, his cell phone. So obviously we'll be in touch with them also as soon as we can.
The alleged hazing in Phi Sigma Kappa took place off campus at Penn State Altoona. Students are slowly coming forward with information.
Penn State Altoona takes allegations of hazing and violations of our student conduct very seriously, which is why the fraternity was placed on suspension.
There is no official link yet. Police in Nassau now have Bram's cell phone and laptop and are sharing information with Pennsylvania authorities. What is the goal for you now?
Jennifer, it's to save lives. We as parents had no idea that when we sent Marquise away to school, that he'd come back to us and he'd be in a box.
Phi Sigma Kappa leaders say they are all devastated, but deny any hazing. Some members now have lawyers concerned about potential criminal charges stemming from the death of their fraternity brother. On Long Island, Jennifer McLogan, TV 1055.
A message in a bottle sent adrift from Long Island gets an unexpected response from an unexpected location. TV 1055's Diane Macedo has the story.
It was 3 years ago when Shelter Island teen Connor Corbett Rice completed a class project familiar to many.
I just wrote about some of the basic aspects of my life, like who I lived with, what I did, what my interests were. And I just wrote the letter, I gave it to the teacher, and he put it in the bottle that I gave him, and he put it out in the ocean.
At the time, Connor says he thought there was little chance the bottle would ever be seen again, but last month he got a big surprise.
I learned that it got to the Bahamas on a place called Cave K, right? Mm-hmm. Yeah, Cave K.
The bottle was found by sailor Andrew Gracie and his wife, who sent a message to the teacher's email address tucked inside.
He pulled up the emails on his screen on his smartboard in his classroom, and I saw them, and there's the guy holding the bottle. You know, I couldn't believe it. And Mr. Reardon is so thrilled about it because, as I said, he's been doing this project for over a dozen years, and this is the first time that he's had this kind of response.
The Gracies then checked the tides and currents to offer their best guess on the bottle's path.
I couldn't believe it. Traveled from here to Europe, near Africa, then down to the Bahamas, which was amazing.
I think the coolest aspect of this is that everything nowadays is so fast, so instant, and it just shows that, you know, given some time, you can really have something great come from something that takes longer than, you know, at the touch of a button.
The Corbetts and the Gracies now resort to more modern forms of communication. They've exchanged numerous emails and say they may even try to meet in person. Diane Macedo, TV 1055.
The Corbetts say the farthest response previously received from the project came from nearby Block Island. Well, in health news, new hope for people with fibromyalgia. It's a common condition of body-wide pain and tenderness. A new study says a device that pulses magnetic waves into the brain may offer relief. TV 1055's Dr. Max Gomez has more.
Jeff Enright has been suffering with fibromyalgia for 20 years.
It's like being in 9 out of 10 pain around every joint in your body all day.
There's a sensitization in the actual brain that makes you feel pain more strongly and lowers the pain threshold.
Which makes relief hard to find.
I tried various medications. I've gotten regular massages. I've gone to chiropractors. You know, I'd feel good for a day or two, and it would kind of creep back.
What has finally brought relief to Enright is this unusual device. It's called transcranial magnetic stimulation, or TMS for short. Electromagnetic waves are pulsed into specific regions of Enright's brain. Now, a new study in the journal Neurology finds that magnetic stimulation can actually improve the non-pain symptoms of fibromyalgia, like depression, mood, and overall quality of life. Other studies have found that TMS also alleviates the pain symptoms. The difference is where and how the magnetic pulses are used.
As you use the magnet in different areas of the brain, sometimes simultaneously in two areas, we're able to both reduce pain as well as improve quality of life symptoms.
TMS seems to work by altering some of the pain circuits in the brain.
The brain is an electrical device, and we know that when we add an electrical impulse to that device, the device will change.
It's like a great weight's been lifted off me.
The TMS device has been FDA approved to treat depression, so its use on fibromyalgia is still off-label and experimental. But as our patient told me, there's no real side effects other than a light tapping sensation in his head. Dr. Max Gomez, TV 1055.
When we come back, it's no tall tale. Giant power poles are popping up across Long Island. We'll explain why residents now want to see them chopped down.
When a diet pill sells over 1 million bottles, it's a good start. Over 10 million bottles, it's time to take notice. But when it sells over 20 million bottles, it's time to try it. Now you can join the millions of people who have tried America's #1 selling diet supplement, Lipozene.
I decided to try it, and I lost 20 pounds with Lipozene.
I lost 35 pounds in 10 weeks using Lipozene.
I lost 7 inches off of my waist, and I lost 2 dress sizes, and I feel amazing.
Lipozene has now sold over 20 million bottles. That's because Lipozene really works. In fact, in a clinical study, people who took Lipozene lost weight, all while being asked not to change their lifestyle. That means they were asked not to change their diet or exercise. They were simply instructed to take Lipozene, and by just taking Lipozene, they lost weight. But here's where it gets really exciting. 78% of the weight they lost was pure body fat, not water, fat.
Lipozene helped me take out all that body fat, and I feel amazing.
I'm almost back down to my high school weight, so I'm really loving that.
Now you can join the millions of people who have lost weight with Lipozene by trying it risk-free for only $29.95. Lipozene is guaranteed to help you lose weight or your money back.
For real, the product works. It really does. It does.
But wait, call in the next 10 minutes and we'll double your order absolutely free. Plus, we'll even pay for your shipping. But that's still not all. To celebrate selling over 20 million bottles of Lipozene, the company will give you a free bottle of Metabo Up with your order. That's a $20 value free, but you must call right now because this exclusive free offer is not available in stores.
To order Lipozene, call 1-800-894-8703. That's 1-800-894-8703. Again, that's 1-800-894-8703. Call now.
Welcome back. Last week we showed you the giant power poles going up in East Hampton. PSE&G, the utility in charge, says they're needed to make sure Long Island has enough power to handle the extra load for the upcoming summer season. Now even bigger poles are going up in Nassau County. PSE&G crews are putting hundreds of 85-foot-tall power poles in a 5-mile stretch surrounding Port Washington and Manhasset. Residents say they're worried that a big storm could bring the towering poles down onto their homes.
I think there should be a better solution than putting up such a tall, ugly. I just don't think it's for this town. I think it makes the town look horrible.
The residents say the new power lines should be buried and they want work stopped now. PSE&G says that can only happen if the town can come up with the $20 to $30 million it would cost to bury the lines. Now, here with us now is Neil Lewis. He's a former LIPA trustee and the head of the Sustainability Institute at Molloy College. Welcome to the show, sir. Good morning.
Thank you.
You heard that woman. You know these neighborhoods, Manhasset, a beautiful neighborhood, Port Washington, and the sight of these ungangly power lines coming in. Why doesn't it make sense to bury them?
Well, you know, you can imagine someone going out to walk their dog in the morning and being hit with the view that these have an impact on. And they're not just really, really tall, which they are, but they're also a lot wider. So they have a dramatic impact. You can put them underground to some extent, but there's a significant cost impact. And so this raises an issue about what's called socializing costs. So if you put some underground, when the system is essentially an above-ground system, it raises the issue, well, why can't you put them all underground? And do people in some parts of Long Island pay for only certain communities getting them put underground? So what ends up as the reasonable solution is to offer the possibility of putting them underground, but then that community has to pay more.
I mean, you know, $20, $30 million. All these communities, particularly in Nassau County, have their budgets strapped. Is it fair to put it all on the community?
Well, really under state law, the way they do tariffs in the utility industry, they use that term a lot. The tariff really does say you can't do something that benefits one community at the cost of everybody, you know, socializing the cost, everybody paying for it. So I think that PSEG, they're new to Long Island. They're working hard. I think they're going to do the right thing in terms of figuring out a solution here. They're very much engaged with the community. The new head of them, David Daly, the president, spent 3.5 hours in Port Washington the other day, and yeah, the poles are very ugly. They're sort of super poles in order to be prepared for the next superstorm, and they are a lot stronger. I hate as an environmentalist to tie everything back to global warming, but frankly, as we live in a world with global warming, increased storm severity, we need bigger, stronger poles if we're going to maintain an above-ground system. Now, I do believe some of this system should be put underground, but it's a significant expense. We've heard the number like $30 billion to put all of Long Island underground.
The reality of it is that's not happening.
That's not going to happen. But you can selectively do it in certain areas, and it was something I've always been supportive of. Like if a line's going to a hospital, that's going to be the first line you have to repair, so maybe we should put some of those lines underground. And in this case, when one is going to have a really negative visual impact, it's reasonable to say, let's have a plan to put this underground. But to be fair to PSEG, they've only been in charge for 3 months, and this plan goes back 1.5 years. So
you know, though, a lot of new condos, new communities around the country, they require you put things underground.
That's right.
And so that's why some people here, I think, say, hey, so why can't you do it?
Well, again, technologically you can do it. Understand something, it's not a panacea, because if you have a flooding problem, when wind is hitting you, you worry about lines being above ground. But when flooding happens, underground can be a problem. So we saw many communities with underground lines that were the last ones to get their power back after Superstorm Sandy.
Wow.
So, you know, there's this frustration of there's no absolutely, you know, solution that solves all the problems in terms of being a silver bullet. But I do think it's really more of a visual concern. People think it's really degrading their community to see these monster poles. And,
yeah. And I have to ask you, hurricane season is in June upcoming. People on Long Island certainly worried after Superstorm Sandy. You think the new provisions that we now have in place, you think they're ready for it?
Well, we're going to have a plan adopted in June, so we're rushing to get this done. PSEG has circulated it with the local government. There was this big dispute the last time of who is responsible for inspecting homes, and I think they've reached an agreement on that. It was announced at the LIPA meeting yesterday. It looks like we're going to have a better plan, a clearer sense of who's responsible for what than what took place during Superstorm Sandy, where people were pointing fingers in different directions. So let's hope that this is going to be hammered out and we're going to see the plan in June.
Well, Neil Lewis, we really appreciate you coming in, and we hope for the best for everyone coming up in June. Neil Lewis, former LIPA trustee, thanks very much, and we will be right back.
Thank you.
Thank you for serving.
Thank you.
We thank the troops for all the support they've given us. But how do we thank the ones who support them?
Thank you for your service.
Thanks USA provides scholarships to the spouses and children of our troops and helps give a future to the people who support the troops the most.
Thanks for supporting them.
Thank you for your dedication.
Go to ThanksUSA.org to see how you can express your appreciation for what they do for our heroes.
Thank you.
Go to ThanksUSA.org now.
Thank you.
Well, will you look what Audi Lindbrook found under all that snow? All those Audis. And another nice touch from Audi Lindbrook. Incredibly low payments. Just $299 for an Audi A4. Only $399 for an Audi A6. Seriously, you can't even get an ordinary car for that. But you also get a selection of personal touch services. No charge. Very nice touch. The new Audi Lindbrook, like no other, on Sunrise and Lindbrook.
I've gotten this disease from smoking, and I've had about, I'd say, between 17 and 20 amputations. I used to paint my own house. I can't hang up pictures. The light in my kitchen blew out, and I can't change because I have no fingertips. Everything I do now, I have to stop and think, because just me banging my hand or something could cause me to lose my finger. That's not living. I chose to smoke, and then this is what this decision cost me.
This week on Live from the Couch, from Harry Potter to the Broadway stage, actor Daniel Radcliffe talks about his new theater role. Then, looking fit and fabulous, easy tips for getting your body ready for summer. And flipping out on the couch, real estate guru and star Jeff Lewis gives the scoop behind the new season. Plus, get all your local news, traffic, and weather this week on Live from the Couch from 7 to 9 a.m. on WLNY-TV 1055.
Only one lucky ticket nationwide matched this week's Mega Millions jackpot, and the $20 million ticket was sold in our area. Again, here's Jennifer McLogan.
Congratulations. Congratulations.
Handshakes, high fives in Coram, Long Island.
Because I play here, and I'm like, it actually happened in my own backyard.
Lotto company called us. They said, hey, congratulations, you sold the winning ticket. I said, what? Can you tell me again? He said, congratulations, you sold the $20 million winning ticket. I said, oh my God, you are so excited.
Gas station convenience store manager Selçuk Savindik is on cloud nine. Mega Millions is played in 43 states, the District of Columbia, and U.S. Virgin Islands. Nearly 18 million tickets sold Tuesday. Only one was a winner, sold by Savindik right here on Middle Country Road, where dozens in the community begin their days.
I get my gas here all the time. He's absolutely a phenomenal gentleman, always courteous and always respectful.
He should get a percentage of the winnings. Probably my boss gonna get some bonus, but I don't know how much.
The store is filled with customers now checking their numbers.
Sorry, I'm not a winner.
Yeah.
I wish it was me. I come here every day. Somebody who needs it, more importantly.
But I wish it was me still.
I can't even talk.
You can't even talk because you're kind of like, you seem like you're jumping around like a kid.
I want to see, hey, somebody hit that prize and I sold that ticket.
The mystery is, who has it?
You really never know.
We feel we know the person by sight. Of course, we work across the street. We're here every morning.
Regulars, right?
And we have 3 people in mind. Sent the big sign, and then I'm going to put the outside, winning tickets sold from here.
So now it's a waiting game. Is it a local winner or someone just passing through? Lottery officials say no one has yet claimed the multi-million-dollar prize. On Long Island, Jennifer McLogan, TV 1055.
Now check your pockets for that winning ticket. Here are the numbers: 19, 26, 51, 57, 73, and the mega ball is 15. And that's our show. We'd like to thank our guests, David Feller and Neil Lewis. I'm Dick Brennan. Be sure to join us next Sunday for another edition of Exit 1055. Now here's a look at your...
I've always seen No No on TV, and I always wondered if it worked.